Today we're going to be looking at the M20 action camera from SJCAM. So with such a small form factor and coming in at only $113, I thought this camera would be perfect as a little insurance camera to add to my bike. So this camera can do typical resolutions that we're used to, even including 4K at 24 frames a second, which I was blown away with such a small camera. Don't get too excited though unless you're a really big fan of noise in your video. We're going to get to that in a minute. Talking about the form factor, this camera is going to come in at roughly half the size of a GoPro, which is going to make it perfect for placing it all over your bike in random places that a GoPro wouldn't typically fit into. So the battery life isn't the most amazing thing on this camera. The removable battery will get you about an hour and 23 minutes worth. The good news is it can be run off an external power source, whether that be wiring it to, say, a motorcycle or just running it off of a bigger external battery. That's going to give you a lot more record time on this little guy. So very similar to other action cameras, you can change to different modes with this camera, except this camera has a lot more modes that I don't know is 100% necessary, but if you want them, you got them here on this one. So on top of modes, you're going to have the ability to change the field of view in this camera. Now, before you get in this camera using narrow, I've got to warn you, if you choose narrow, you're going to introduce a ton of noise into your shot. Check out these three shots. Here's the shot in wide, here's the shot in middle, and here's the shot in narrow. Keep in mind, all of these shots are at the same location, the same time, and the same lighting. And for some reason, narrow introduces a ton of noise into the exact same shot that wide the noise does not exist in. I'm not sure why this is happening, but I'm gonna say this is making narrow for this camera not even a usable setting as far as field of view goes. So with the camera having so many modes, you gotta have a menu system. The thing that's odd about this camera is it actually has two menu systems. One you access by hitting the down arrow on the side of the camera, and it'll go into this menu. And then if you're back on the video screen and you hit the power button twice, you go into this menu. Both menus do the exact same thing and change the exact same settings. I'm not sure why there are two totally separate looking menus in the camera, but hey, more options the better, right? Now let's check out some video footage. With the camera looking back at me on my Supermoto, went out and did a ride, and as typical with these types of cameras, the video footage just looks meh. I was impressed that this camera can actually change the bitrate, but even at max bitrate settings, the video just doesn't look great. And if the video doesn't look great in the daytime, it is catastrophic at night. The second time even shadows are introduced to this camera, noise just goes crazy. Now this is the typical point in the video where I tell you guys, yeah, the quality isn't as great, but it's a really cheap option. That's not gonna be the case this time. I'm actually gonna recommend you guys go grab a GoPro Hero if you're looking for a really cheap option for an action camera. Granted, the GoPro is not gonna have tons of options like FPV and underwater and all this other kind of stuff, but at least it's gonna have decent footage. At the end of the day, what good is 4K video at 24 frames a second if it's full of noise and grain? It's going to be unusable footage that you're not going to want to post anywhere. So if you guys want to grab a GoPro Hero, they're on Amazon right now used for 115 bucks, which is only $2 more than the M20. So that's my thoughts on the M20, guys. I was not impressed at all, and I really wanted to be because I was excited to have a little insurance camera on the bike. I'm not going to be using this one though. That doesn't mean all these little Chinese cameras are bad though. I've reviewed some really good ones that have really impressed me, like the Firefly that I'll put links to in the description. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm Chaseontwowheels, and I'll see you on the next one. Later.